China is also the largest exporter of cars, and I hope one of you will start to collect China brand cars. Allow me to mention that in terms of the cars, the news came just before I left Beijing that China's production of automobiles for 2023 reached more than 30 million. That's the largest amount of production you can expect for any country in the world. And China is also the largest exporter of cars, and I hope one of you will start to collect China brand cars. And most of the cars China exported are actually EV cars. And the Chinese EV cars actually have mostly Chinese proprietary brands. So that's a new development. When we talk about container shipping, I think you know that 7 out of the 10 largest container ports are in China. And in that context, when you hear people say decouple from China, let me assure you, that's like talking about decoupling the moon from the earth. It's a mission impossible. Don't try that. And if you are successful, holy cow, you get greater catastrophes. Now, there are people now talking about de-risking China. Allow me to tell you, risk is universal. Everywhere you do, you have risks. When you drink, you may choke. When you eat mushroom, you may be poisoned. When you swim, you may be drowned. So risks are to be managed. If anyone wants to set up a de-risking department in your firm, you will fail. So don't deal with China as risk or risk only. Deal with China as risks combined with opportunities. In this context, I'm so happy to be part of CEDRIS. We want to be the bridge. We want to make sure that you know China better. And you know China in a very realistic and pragmatic way. And when you talk about rush rich or rush wealth, be careful. You need to be rushing in the right direction. And I do believe that if you consider, let's say, China and India, which I highly admire, 35 years ago, China and India as two economies were more or less on the par with each other. India was actually larger than China for 1 or 2 years. But do you know, by now, one China is the equivalent of almost 6 India. This means that China over the past 45 years must have done something right. And you should not be ashamed of that. I think every one of us, every country in the world, should actually take great pride that China can really improve and transform itself. And Russian rich or Russian wealth, please keep China as a destination, move in that destination. And you know, China became the largest economy by purchasing power parity as of 2016. And I'm pretty sure that by 2030, China will be the largest economy if we use official exchange rate. And if you believe in Elon Musk, he kept saying, by the middle of this century, China will be about doubling the size of the United States. So I hope this will happen when all of us still alive by 2050. And we will live to see that there will be complete transformation of the economics and comparative economies in the world. But this is not going to rattle everyone. I think the fact that China and the United States need to embrace what I've called inevitability of peace, which is in buke of the destined for war scenario, which I called a fallacy. That's the megatrend of our time. So please share my optimism for the medium term and longer term relations between China and the United States, the two largest economies in the world. If you bet on war between China and the United States, you lose all your sanity. Why still collect cars and automobiles or ships, for example? But if you believe in my inevitability of peace between China and the United States, build up your wealth, make investment, and consider China as a destination. In that direction, you rush for rich and build up your wealth. Thank you very much.